Gonna make some maple and pecan pancakes. So while they're frying, well that's frying, one an egg. And an egg. Drop that. We can get rid of the flour as well before we have an accident. It's a milliliter. It'll be the same. Milliliters and grams are the same thing. Well, they're not. One's a measure of mass, one's a measurement of volume, obviously. But the amount of space taken up by 100 milliliters of a fluid, 100 milliliters of water, weighs 100 grams. Spoon, my kingdom for a spoon. Oi. Gonna make some maple and pecan pancakes with some streaky bacon as well, American style, diner style. Gonna make a nice stack of about 4 of them. Missed pancake day by quite a while, but I've got a couple of days off work, so I'm gonna treat myself. Because it's a bit of a faff, but it's definitely worth it. First and first though, we need to put the oven on as low as it will go, which in my case is 50 degrees. Reason being, we just need somewhere to keep the bacon warm after we cook the bacon and to keep the pancakes warm, because they cool down really quickly, but they're not very nice when they're cool. I can only cook 2 at a time. If you can cook all 4 at once on your hob, if you've got enough room to have 4 pans on your hob, and you've got 4 good non-stick pans, you don't really even need the oven, but I don't have that. Also got a baking tray with tissue kitchen roll, a couple of sheets of kitchen roll in it. So first things first, I'm gonna stick the bacon on. If you're not having bacon, omit this step. But I've got a couple of rashers of nice quality streaky bacon. I'm gonna whack in there. Right, I'm just gonna fry them up while we're getting everything else ready. And that's what the kitchen roll's for, to drain away excess fat from these and keep it warm in the oven. So while they're frying, well that's frying, we can make our batter. So the batter for these pancakes is a lot thicker and denser than your normal standard pancake batter. The normal sort of pancake batter that you'd make on a pancake day for breakfast is more like a French crepe sort of batter, which is, so a good way to remember that sort of batter is it's 1, 2, 3. 100 grams of flour, 2 large eggs, 300 ml of milk. With this, we're only gonna have the 1 egg. We're gonna have the easiest way to remember this is 130-ish. So it's 130-ish ml of milk, 130-ish grams of flour, and an egg. And an egg. But also the most important thing, well not the most important, but one of the most is baking powder. So you need to put baking powder in there, and that's the leavening agent that makes it puff up and expand really nice and fluffy. Keep an eye on your bacon because you don't want it to burn. The pan doesn't need to be up super high. So, in a bowl on a set of scales. Always weigh anything when you're using flour, unless you're just dusting your work. So, we want 130-ish grams flour. Try not to throw it everywhere. It's a bit much. Yeah, that big. And in with the other dry ingredients, we're going to go with a pinch of salt. Don't need to weigh that. Just because it's always good to season your ingredients properly. And sugar, that's tea. Sugar. 2 tablespoons of caster sugar. If you were making savoury pancakes, you can miss out the sugar, simply because, well, you know, maybe you want sweet pancakes if you're having savoury pancakes. Kind of want to go slow and low if you're having the bacon, because I don't know about you, but I like it, in this instance, really crispy and all the fat rendered out of it. And we want a teaspoon baking powder. Now lightly fork that together. Now for the wet ingredients, we're going to need 2 tablespoons of melted butter. So we're going to whack that in the box of mysteries. couple of seconds. While we're doing that, we can measure out our 130-ish ml of milk, which I don't think is going to come out of here. So, 130 ml of milk. Ooh. It's all issues, doesn't matter. I'm using skimmed milk because that's what I've got. Any milk would be fine. I don't know how it would work with almond milk or oat milk or any of the other non-dairy milks. Semi-skimmed is probably the sweet spot, best milk to use overall. Right, bacon is done enough for us to put on the kitchen roll. So this is going to blot up all that fat, excess fat, so the bacon doesn't end up greasy. Whacking it in the oven and letting it sit in there for a little while is also going to help it crisp up a lot more. Just whack that in your warm oven. So, beurre, an egg, one large egg, sans shell if at all possible. I like to put a splash of vanilla essence or vanilla flavouring in there as well. It's about half a teaspoon, completely optional. So lightly beat, whisk the egg and the milk together and add the milk, not the milk, the butter. Make sure it's cooled down a little bit. You don't want to scramble your eggs. If you can't be bothered with milk, butter, or again, if you're trying to do this, I was about to say vegan, but you need the egg. If you don't want to use the butter, you can use olive oil if you haven't got butter around. I'd probably say use olive oil instead of fake butters, like margarine and stuff like that. Now, we're going to put a little bit of a well in the middle, not that you really need to do that. Wet in with a dry. All of that. And just mix with your fork. As batters go, this is going to be quite a thick one, solid one. It's going to be pourable, but it's definitely not going to be. It's going to be more akin to a cake batter than it's going to be what you think of as being a pancake batter. Give it a decent mix. Try and get out as many of those lumps as possible. It almost kind of helps to kind of beat this because that ends up putting even more air in there, which is going to help you get fluffier pancakes at the end even more. Right, and what I like to do is transfer it back into here. Or any measuring jug, something. I'm just trying to make less mess, just because it's easier to apportion it into the frying pans. Out of the way. Right, so we're gonna let that stand, let the flour hydrate just a little bit, and we're gonna get a few bits ready. We're gonna grab some pancakes, making pancakes, pecan nuts. If you want to save a couple, whole ones for garnish, put those to one side. But just gently, so they don't fly everywhere. There you go. Hasn't got to be perfect. There's a whole one left. Just give that a little chop down. We want some bigger chunks, some smaller chunks. We're not going to put it through a food processor because that will just absolutely pulverise it all, which isn't what we want. We want some crunchy, chunky bits. Both our pans, we're going to start preheating up to a high. The one that put the bacon in and give a wipe out. When the pancake goes into the pan, you want the pan to be really quite hot so that it cooks that initial layer of pancake really quickly. So the pancake sets up, doesn't spread out loads, but you don't want it to burn. So once we get it in there, we're going to want to turn it down a little bit just so that it cooks through the thickness of the pancake without burning that first layer. What we also want to do is lube the pan a little bit. So I like to, if you've got a smaller stick of butter like this knocking about, fold the paper back. You don't want loads in the pan. There's one. So I've made that first one miles too big. Do you know what? We're going to make 2 big pancakes. So while they're in the pan like this, go in with our pecans. With the back of a spatula, fish slice, just give them a pat down. What you should have done, shown a little restraint and only poured out what you needed. 2 thick pancakes, no one's going to complain. It's got the same amount of pancake. If you had a small ladle, that'd probably be your best bet. Just ladle in small amounts at once. So what you're looking for, it's definitely not started happening yet, but as the pancake starts to cook, you'll start to see bubbles forming, starting around the edge first because it's thinner, then moving their way to the thicker centre, bubbles will slowly start working their way up from the bottom. And when those bubbles are all the way to the centre and you've got an even distribution of bubbles, time to flip. Right, and you can sort of see these bubbles around here, and they're starting to work their way further and further into the middle. A little peek underneath, make sure we're not. And there you go. This one, a bit better. Right, another minute or so on that side, and we're done. I'm going to put the burnt one on the bottom because presentation. Put this one on top. Get out our bacon. See how much it's crisped up now that it's been in the oven for a little bit. Whack that on top. Scattering of pecans, pecans, a few whole ones on top for garnish. And lashings, syrup, maple syrup. So there you go. End up with 2 giants instead of 4 large fluffy pancakes, but you can see how thick and fluffy they are. I like the bacon, pecan, maple flavour, sweet and salty mixture, but like I said, you can go with fruits, you can go with golden syrup, you can go with honey and lemon's quite nice, you can go with, you can almost if you wanted to, you could go with orange liqueur, make a crepe Suzette, but fluffy pancake, that'd work. Combinations that you can put in this. Like I said, if you want to make savoury ones, you can make savoury ones. There you go, it's a nice Sunday morning breakfast treat, or brunch, or lunch, or dessert even. I'm gonna go bang these down because I'm starving and hungry. You know the drill, like, comment and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram because you would have seen that I posted, I've been making pancakes for a while, getting ready for this. Still managed to F it up, but I am not a professional and I am only human. So yeah, eat these as soon as they come out because you can keep them warm in the oven, but they're just never the same as soon as they come out of that pan, and they soak up that maple syrup so quickly that they just don't look as good anyway. But yeah, I'm gonna go. See you later. Yeah, laters taters.